The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus and his disciples set out for the villages of Caesarea Philippi. Along the way, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that I am?" They said in reply, "John the Baptist, others Elijah, still others one of the prophets." And he asked them, "But who do you say that I am?" Peter said to him in reply, "You are the Christ." Then he warned them not to tell anyone about him. He began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer greatly and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed, and rise after 3 days. He spoke this openly. Then Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. At this, he turned around and, looking at his disciples, rebuked Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan. You are thinking not as God does, but as human beings do." He summoned the crowd with his disciples and said to them, "Whoever wishes to come after me must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it. But whoever loses his life for my sake and that of the gospel will find it." The gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
I was browsing on Amazon the other day looking for a new book to read, and I came across in my suggestions this book called Zen Golf. And according to Vijay Singh, PGA champion, right on the cover, he says, "Zen Golf is the best book there is for connecting golf and the mind together. You're really going to enjoy it." And I said, I need that book, because so often, like with many golfers, my problem is in my mind, in my brain. I've played golf for a while. I know how to hit the different shots. And as long as things are going well on the golf course, I play reasonably well. But as soon as I start hitting a few bad shots or have a few bad holes, suddenly it gets into my mind. And I start making all these unnecessary adjustments. I start overthinking things, and then my whole game falls apart. I'm not alone doing that in golf. I was playing golf with a parishioner the other day, and I didn't hear this. I was far away, but on the 5th hole or so, he hit a really bad shot. And he came up to me and he said, "Father Matt, I need to go to confession. I just used a bad word." And I said, "Okay, my son, but let's wait till the 18th hole, because I'm pretty sure there's going to be some more bad words still to come." And I should have given him a copy of Zen Golf, but I hadn't found it yet. And I don't know, Zen actually kind of sounds vaguely Buddhist. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be reading it, but sometimes you're tempted. You say, playing golf as a Christian isn't working out very well. Maybe there's another answer out there. Maybe there's another path I could take. We're often looking for other answers, especially when things don't seem to be going so well in my life. And, Peter today in the gospel, he's looking for a different answer. At first he seems to be right on top of everything. His mind seems to be in the right place. He's been doing this game of being a disciple of Jesus for a while, and he seems to know how to do it well. In fact, when Jesus asks the disciples, "Who do you say that I am?" it's Peter who comes up with the right answer. "You are the Christ. You are the Savior. You are the Son of the living God." Right. But then as soon as Jesus suggests that the game might be changing a little bit, that now they're going to have to go in a new direction. They're going to have to go to Jerusalem. And there in Jerusalem, Jesus is going to be rejected. He's going to be crucified. He's going to be killed, and on the 3rd day be raised. As soon as Peter hears that, he's totally thrown off his game. And all of a sudden, he's trying to scramble. And can we make an adjustment to that plan, Jesus? Could we go somewhere else? Could we try another plan? And Jesus, it's almost like Peter's mind shuts off. It's like he doesn't even hear the second part of what Jesus said. Yes, I mentioned the cross, but I also talked about the resurrection. The cross leads to the resurrection, but Peter doesn't hear that second part. He just hears cross, and he panics. He struggles with that. And so often we do too. We struggle with the cross. And Jesus says to Peter, this is the road to victory. As hard as it is, you're preventing me from taking it. So get behind me, Satan, he says. You become like Satan. You become like a tempter, trying to tempt me away from God's plan. In another version of this gospel, he says, you've become a stumbling block, Peter. Your faith that was so strong just a minute ago, so strong that I called you Peter, I called you the rock on which I could build my church. Suddenly that rock has become a stumbling stone, a stone that lies on the ground that we trip over and can't get past. I know what a stumbling stone is. Earlier this summer, I was on vacation and I was wearing these open-toed sandals, and I stubbed my toe really bad on this like concrete step. And I didn't use a word quite as bad as my friend the golfer, but I yelled, ouch. It was awful. It was very painful. My big toe swelled up. I don't know if I bruised it or broke it or whatever, but it took 6 weeks to recover. And something that painful, ouch, is not something any of us wants to go through. And often it's that type of pain that trips us up in life. We're going along just great in our faith, seemingly. We're feeling good, we're doing good, we're moving right along, and then all of a sudden, the cross confronts us. All of a sudden, we have an experience of suffering, and it can be awful. It can be so painful, so worrisome, so frustrating, and all of a sudden, it becomes a stumbling stone. It becomes something that trips me up in my faith. And what do I do with that now? And of course, we shouldn't be surprised. This is what Jesus said was going to happen. Peter, why are you so surprised that you got the right answer at the beginning? Yes, Jesus is the Christ. But what Peter didn't realize is the Christ had first to suffer and so enter into his glory. And so must we. When the cross comes into our life, this is what Jesus said was going to happen. Yes, there's going to be crosses. There's going to be difficulties. But if you bear those with faith and with courage, and if you know that I am with you in that cross, and you keep going, you keep persevering, that cross is going to lead to victory. That cross is going to lead to resurrection. It's going to lead to new life. It's going to lead to fruit. It's going to lead to salvation. And yet we're surprised when it happens. We begin to question our faith. What am I doing wrong, God, we say? Or, God, why have you abandoned me? Or I start thinking I'm losing my faith because my head's not in the right place. Or even worse, we judge it on our feelings. I'm not feeling the right thing. No, you have faith. Faith is just a way of seeing. It's a way that helps us to see that this suffering I'm going through is the cross. It's the cross that leads to resurrection. But it's hard to see it in the moment because we get distracted. In the first chapter of Zen Golf, the author tells the story of a student who went to a Zen master, and because he wanted to learn how to control his mind, and the master said, "Well, do you even know where your mind is?" And the student said, "Well, when I think thoughts, my thoughts seem to be in my head, so I think my mind is up here." And he said, "Well, that's a very good answer, but hold on a minute." And he went off and got a hammer, and he took the hammer and proceeded to smash the big toe of the student. And he said, "Ouch," or something worse. And the master said, "Well, where's your mind now? It's in your big toe. It's not in your head anymore. All you can think about is your toe at the moment." And so often it's like that. We get so distracted by what we're struggling with, by the difficulty, by the cross. It's all we can think about sometimes. And yet Jesus is helping us to see the path forward, that there is a path forward, and it's the path of faith. It's the path of every day putting our trust in Jesus and keep going and help one another to carry our burdens. Faith is not just about thinking the right thoughts. That's important. Jesus says that to Peter. Like, Peter, you're thinking the wrong thoughts. You're not thinking as God does. You're thinking as human beings do. So get your mind on straight. Get your thoughts right. That's a good start. But even that's not enough. Then Jesus says, you've got to pick up your cross every day and follow me. So it's not enough just to think the right way. You got to actually put it into practice in your life. You got to do it. You got to live it. You've got to embrace your cross. You got to pick it up every day and keep going. And that's what faith is, real faith. Faith is not just a way of thinking. Faith is a way of living. That's what St. James says in our reading today. He says, faith without works is dead. What good does it do if you see a poor person, a hungry person, and you have the right thoughts about them, and you say, "Oh, I wish that person was fed well and kept warm," but you don't do anything to help? then that's just a faith that's dead. You have to actually do something. You have to live the way. And this is the Christian answer to the cross, to suffering, that not only is God with us in our suffering and our cross, but we're with each other. We're meant to help one another. We're meant to help lift the burdens from one another's shoulders and help in actual, tangible ways. Is this the only answer to suffering in life? No, there are other answers. There are other paths. Buddhism does have a sort of a different answer. Buddhism, kind of maybe the answer there to suffering is that suffering's an illusion of some sort, that the cross is an illusion. If you just got your mind on straight, you would see it that way. And it's not to say there's not something there. Even Pope Francis said this week, he said, in his trip to Asia, he said, every religion has a certain truth to it and can be a path that goes to God. And maybe a little Zen will help me in my golf game, will help me calm my mind, and will help me to concentrate on what I'm doing. But I'm not going to become a Buddhist because it's not the whole answer. Unless I hit a hole in one on my first hole tomorrow, then I might be very tempted. But I'm going to be a Christian, as hard as it is sometimes, because it's the whole truth. Because actually the truth is suffering is not an illusion. Suffering is very real in people's lives. And that's why we have to do real things to help one another. And so what Jesus is saying to Peter and St. James is saying to us is you got to put it all together. Just like Zen golf is meant to teach you to put your golf and your mind together, Jesus is saying put your faith and your life together. It's all one thing. It's not like our life is separate from our faith. We got to live the way we believe. And when we do that, when we integrate in that way, something really good happens. We begin to see that every cross is the opportunity for new life. We continue to walk on that path of faith. We continue to keep going and trusting in God. I am playing golf tomorrow. I'm playing in a tournament called Mulligans for Moms. And it helps to benefit the New Generation Center over in Greenland. And they do such wonderful things at that shelter. They shelter pregnant women and young mothers and people who are homeless and hungry. And they help in so many, it's so beautiful to see people of faith do something that tangible to help people. And if I can help by playing some golf and supporting them, that's great. And, I'll let you know if I hit the hole in one tomorrow, but more than likely, I'm not. More than likely, I'm going to have some good shots and some bad shots. I'm going to have some ups and downs, and I'm going to have to fight to keep my mind in the game. But so it is with life. As with golf, so with life. We're always fighting to keep our mind in the game. We're always trying to trust amid all the ups and downs of life. We're trying to keep going, seeing that in every cross is the royal road that leads to the resurrection. So let's keep going and let's keep helping one another on that journey because we're not alone. Jesus is with us. What did the psalm today say? Jesus walks with us. He has freed my soul from death, my eyes from tears, my feet from stumbling. I will walk before the Lord in the land of the living.